welcome. I love the fact that I feel like I'm speaking to my people here.
Yeah.
And I also do sound baths with crystal bowls, and and get into some of the other things I do. But the work that you do is so important, and I really think that probably that is true for everybody on the call. So the fact that I get to share a little bit about what makes my passion for meditation so strong is really exciting. And I want to encourage people also, and I didn't check this out with Michelle ahead of time, but I don't think she'll mind, that if you have something that would be a really good share on a webinar. I am such a an older person and a novice to so much, but you can do this, and then it gets the word out about what you do. And so let's just start with just appreciating for a moment that we are all connected. Looks like everybody who's in here, my guess is that people are connected to alternative balance. And you may or may not have explored what a wonderful business this is and business model. And the people who are involved in it are just so genuinely there to not only provide you with the insurance, but to make sure that your business has an opportunity to thrive in a way that that serves the world. And I love that vision. So thank you to Alternative Balance and to Michelle right off the bat.
Thank you, Ellen. That was really nice.
Yeah.
No, we love it, and we love our members, and you doing this today is just so wonderful, and meeting you, and having lunch with you, and doing this is just so great to bring people together. And it's nice to have the practitioners together as like peer to peer, and for you all to get together. So it's nice to see. So thank you for everything.
Well, wonderful. And again, thanks. So let's go to the first slide, which just says, Yoga Nidra meditation. And it indicates that this is an ancient practice. And I say that right off the bat because it is both an ancient practice and a modern practice. And I want to go into that in the slide presentation. We'll go on to the next slide, who asks who you are. And if you haven't already done so, just put a little something in the chat about who you are, where you're from, if you're a meditator. And yeah, and we're going to go on from there now because I have so much to share. But the next slide is one that really goes into the brief history of Yoga Nidra. And I just like to just set this as the foundation. I think it's important to know where practices that you are involved in, where they originate, and give a little bit of credit to either the amount of time they've been around or who started them, and what you are building your practice upon, because we don't do things alone. Everything is built on what has come before. So the roots of Yoga Nidra came from a tradition called Sankhya, and that was the first written notation of Yoga Nidra was from about 700 BC. So I need to pause there and just take in the immensity of the amount of time that the traditions that set the foundation for this practice were in place for that long, and actually probably for thousands of years longer. Some people think as many as 5,000 years. And this is a possibility, but I think nobody knows for sure because it was handed down from generation to generation orally for many, many generations. And it also was handed down within a very select group of people who dedicated their lives to spiritual enlightenment. So it wasn't open to anybody or the general public at 700 BC. So that's the first thing. And then the text that it appears in, Mahabharata, is translated as either yogic sleep or, and I love these words, the peace beyond words. Now, I don't know about you, but I sometimes get fumbled up in words, and the fact that we can go beyond our mental state and into a state that's beyond words is really an exciting concept for me. Now, I put this next thing down twice, but it was Swami Satyananda Saraswati, who in the early 1960s brought these ancient traditions into a modern application. And he did this in part by understanding what the yogis were and the Vedics before them were harnessing, and then also looking at some modern experiences or practices. That's the word I'm looking for. Some practices that if we go to the next slide, and this is a little bit out of order, but the rotation of consciousness through the body, which is one aspect of the Yoga Nidra practice, really comes from a Swiss doctor, as far as I can tell, Otto Vitaz, who lived from 1863 to 1925. And the reason I think this is important is that this rotation of consciousness through the body, he noticed through his practice with his, I think he was a psychiatric doctor, though I'm not positive about that. But his practice with his patients found that there was an unusual kind of relaxation that happened when you paid attention to various parts of the body. So we'll go up to the top of this slide. Now I'm going to jump around on this slide a little bit, but the way that you receive a Yoga Nidra practice is traditionally in Shavasana. Some people say Savasana. I learned it as Shavasana, but it's the corpse pose. And for anybody who has done yoga, you know it very well as the position you take at the end of that practice. It was a yoga teacher who introduced me to Yoga Nidra. And when she sent out an email that said, all you need to do is come with your mat and lie down and receive, I thought, I'm in. So Shavasana is the way that we practice. And really, if you think of this, and I'm going to take you through a full practice, and if you think of this as something that you let wash over you, that you don't use your mind too much, you don't have to worry about doing it wrong, then you'll have the full experience. And the full experience can be a myriad of different things, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Let's go on to the sankalpa. The sankalpa, and I find the Sanskrit words can be both an invitation to really staying with the tradition out of which this has arisen, but they can also get in the way of understanding. So I also say this is your intention, the intention that you set for your own practice. And every day it can be different. It can be the same for, I've had the same one sometimes for a couple of years, and sometimes I've had one for a couple of days, and that's it. So in the sankalpa, you ask your heart, and I'll guide you to do this. What do you really need right now? So the heart is working on our behalf continuously. So we appreciate the heart first, and then we ask it what it needs. And then you just let something rise up within you that would be really useful in your life right now. What shift could be made that would feel really good to you in your life? And that's what you set your intention with. And I'll say right now just a couple of things. That intention is stated as though it's already true. And it's a short, kind of pithy statement about what you want as though you already have it. And we set it early in the practice and we return to it a little later in the practice. And the reason we set it in the present tense is when we return to it later, it's hopefully when we have an experience of being receptive. I call it the posture of receptivity. And it's as though your whole being is open to suggestion at that time. And unlike being hypnotized, it's your own suggestion. So you can fully trust it. And nobody ever needs to know what your intention was unless you choose to share it with them. I think that's kind of an awesome part. It's like having a secret hiding place to go when you need a little time alone. Breath awareness is another big part, that we come to the breath, and we usually notice the breath in the early part of the meditation and also later at the end, toward the end of the meditation. And then I had referred before to the rotation of consciousness. Now, what this is we pay attention to various parts of the body. And then from there, we move to an experience of the whole body, but it allows us to, again, feel as though, let our body feel as though we have paid attention to it so it can relax. And we'll hear a bit more about that in a moment. The inner sanctuary is often the place that people find within themselves that hasn't been affected by the experiences that you've had in life. This is this sacred space within that holds a unconditional love for us, and it's a place that you can fully relax. You're also guided into it. In many times when I lead a Yoga Nidra meditation, if it's with people who have experienced meditation a lot, I might leave them there quietly for a longer period of time. But if it's for people that either I don't know or they haven't meditated much, it's usually not more than 2 or 3 minutes that I leave them there. And it's always after having attended to a lot so that they can know that they're in a place that they can relax and let go. In today's meditation, however, I am going to do this a little bit differently because I have chosen some words from a poet named John O'Donohue, who is a poet, contemporary poet. He died maybe about 8 years ago. He lived in north of Galway in an area of Ireland called Connemara, very beautiful, mystical, mountainous lakes region. It's really not unlike Michelle, you'll appreciate, not unlike New Hampshire. But he was a mystic, a poet, a priest for a period of time. He was a Catholic priest for a period of time, and he died young. His words and his blessings and his invocations to me are unsurpassed. And so what I have done is chosen some of his writing. It's not one piece, but it's a few pieces put together. And I'm going to share those during the inner sanctuary. And I'm going to share them systematically, but where I present a line and then it's quiet for just a little bit, just to allow that to come in and say, do I want that to sit with me or do I want to let that go? And then the next line will come in and we'll go through it that way. Visualizations are often used in Yoga Nidra meditations. I do not use them though, because I find that when people have any kind of emotional, mental health liabilities, visualizations can be a liability in and of themselves. So I keep that to a real minimum. You won't hear much. And in a Yoga Nidra, you can pick and choose a little bit as well of what you include. Welcoming all that is often a part of it, where whatever comes up when you're in this practice is as it should be, and that we just allow it as best we can. Now, if at any point in time something becomes too much, then you can open your eyes, you can sit up, you can orient yourself again to the room. And if it feels comfortable, then go back down and into the meditation. I say that because for some people, it's a small number, but you don't want to feel like, you want to feel like you are in control of what is okay to come into your physiology. And so, let's see, sorry about that. The one mistake I made, I forgot to turn that off. Maybe not the only, but what comes into your physiology is going to be within your control. It's an important aspect. So know that that is within your control. And then there is often, not always, a welcoming of opposites of emotions. And the thing that this really does is sometimes in life, you close down. You don't want to feel maybe you've experienced some terror in your life. And so when you close down the door that opens up into terror, you also close down the door that opens into its opposite, maybe elation, whatever its opposite is for you. And when we do this experience or noticing of the emotions or feelings and their opposites, it can allow for a relaxing and an opening of something that's been shut tight and actually has limited your life in some way. Does anybody have any question about that before we move on to the next slide? And if you do, just, if you're not already unmuted, if you just unmute and just ask.
My question, I guess, is just a little more information on that.
On which one? The opposites of emotions?
No, when you were saying about like if you've had some type of like trauma or something, like that this can help with that.
Well, so for certain people who have had particular traumas, to ask them to go on an imaginary journey, let's say, can unseat them, can make them feel unstable. So I don't do any journeying, though some people do when they lead Yoga Nidras. You can go, and I actually enjoy taking them, but you never really know who is a liability. And I worked for 16 years in a mental health hospital, and I led guided meditations there, among other things. So I learned from the patients that in order to make this trauma sensitive, there were certain things that I was better off leaving out or adapting. And that's what I meant by that. I also got feedback from them. It was a great place to work because people were encouraged to let you know exactly what they thought of things. And a lot of times people let me know what didn't work as much as they let me know what did work. So the opposite of emotions was something that people really found valuable. And I think for the reason that people had made their world quite small due to many, unpleasant and sometimes horrific life experiences. And to be in a place where they could not feel stuck in one side or the other, but be able to begin to freely move between opposites was, for some patients, very liberating. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, well, let's go to the slide now that is the what is called the koshas. And if anybody is familiar with yoga and the and has had yoga teacher training, for example, you know what the koshas are. If you're familiar with Ayurveda, you know what the koshas are, but many people don't. And so the koshas are these 5 layers. And if I think of them, they originally were written about in the Upanishads, which is an ancient Indian sacred text. But these 5 layers or sheaths, or I call them bodies. If you look at this picture and you think of when a tree gets cut across and you can see the different layers of its life, the different years, well, it's as though you're looking down at the body and you're cutting it. And there are these various bodies, but instead of this being literal, it is it's going from the physically most dense or gross aspect of our being, our physical bodies, all the way into the most ethereal, which is here it's called the bliss body in the very center, but I also think of it as the joy body. Now, these do have names in Sanskrit. There's the outer body, the physical body, is the Annamaya kosha, and the next body, the energy body, is also known as the breath or life force body, is the Pranamaya kosha. The mental body is the Manomaya kosha, and the wisdom body is the Vijnanamaya kosha, and the very center, your core or bliss body, is the Anandamaya kosha. So I'm not going to use those terms anymore, because for people who may not be familiar with them, I think it becomes a little harder to understand what they're like. But another way to think of this is the Russian stacking dolls. And you think of the innermost core, your bliss body, as being that very small center. It's actually a solid piece. And then beyond that, you're going to set that right inside. Oopsie, wrong size. Right inside the wisdom body. And then the wisdom body is inside the emotional body. The emotional body is, oopsie, inside the energy body. And the energy body is inside the physical body. And obviously that's also a representation, because actually these bodies intermingle and they have an effect on one another. But it is a way to think about it, because we pay attention to each of these bodies in Yoga Nidra. And as you pay attention to the physical body, it's able to relax. And then there's a key or a door that then opens into the next body, into the energy body. And the same thing happens when we pay attention to the energy body. And so on, right? Until you get into the very center of that. And the way that these might interact that you could possibly relate to would be if you have an experience where you're feeling strained or tense. Maybe you have something coming up that brings up some anxiety for you, then you might not feel quite in touch with the joy and the wisdom that you have. So that might be something that you could, relate to. They're not completely separate, right? The physical body is certainly energized and enlivened by the energy body, and emotions have an effect on the physical and the energy body. So they're all really interwoven. And the only reason I do these presentations is just to give a sense that we are complex people, and that the thing that I find the most inviting, joyous about Yoga Nidra is that it really takes all of this into consideration. So yeah, so let's have a couple of things. I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey right now into this meditation. It's not going to be like a visualization journey. The most common way that people receive Yoga Nidra is lying down. So I hope you got the email that said, if you can, bring a mat or a blanket. If you have a place to lie down, that's great. If you don't, or if lying down doesn't feel good for you, you can certainly just sit down, or you can even stand up. I had a woman who used to come quite often who she couldn't sit or lie down for long periods of time, but she loved it standing. So you can turn your screen off for this part, or you can leave it on, whatever you like. And also, if you can just get if you have paper and a pencil, just to jot down, we're going to jot down a few things at the very end. So if you can have those, like after we finish the meditation, so if you can have those close at hand, that would be awesome. And then I'll give you just a minute to get yourself situated. And while you're doing that, if you have a blanket you can put over you, for many people in the summer, you don't need one, but your body does cool down when you experience Yoga Nidra. So understand that. So getting yourself nice and comfortable, and if it's comfortable to you, closing your eyes, and if it's not, just a soft gaze downward. And initially listening to any sounds that are in and around the area that you're in. And then noticing any smells. And then noticing the eyes as they settle, either back or down, depending on your position. And notice the way the muscles around the eyes can just let go and relax now. They're not needing to move about on your behalf. Then feel the touch of the air against your skin and notice that sensation. And bringing your attention into your mouth, noticing any taste that lingers. And any other sensation. The mouth can be a place that some people feel a myriad of sensations. Just notice, are you one of those people, or do you not feel too much there? And then come to your heart. Just rest your attention on your heart and notice first how constant the heart is. It is endlessly beating. It's such a strong muscle. It is sending refreshed blood out to all your organs, out to your extremities. So the heart is always working on your behalf. And this is an opportunity to notice and appreciate the work of the heart. And then ask your heart what it needs. I like to end that with or begin it with, dear heart, what do you need now? Just notice what rises to the surface. And your heart here is also more metaphorical of your center, of the place that you orient out into the world from. What does it need? And from whatever emerges, create a nice brief statement about what you want or need, or what your heart wants or needs. And you're going to state it as though it already has it. So if you feel anxious and you want to feel more calm, you might create an intention of, I feel calm and relaxed. Once you have your intention, I want you to repeat it to yourself 3 times. I'm going to leave just a little space here for you to do that. And then just set that intention aside when you finish the 3 rotations of your repetitions of your intention. We will, though, come back to the intention a little later, so don't totally forget about it. Just leave it there a little bit out of sight, but not out of reach. And then bring your attention to your breath. And notice the breath as it enters and as it leaves the body. And see if you can keep your attention on the breath for 3 or 4 full cycles of breathing. And now I'll lead you on a rotation of consciousness through the body. So we'll begin today at the right hand, just noticing the right hand and all the fingers, palm of the hand, and the top of the hand. Notice the right wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, right side of the waist, right hip, right knee, calf and shin, ankle, and the whole right foot, including the sole of the foot, top of the foot, and all 5 toes. And now bring your attention to the left hand thumb and all of the fingers on the left hand, the palm of the hand and the back of the hand, the left wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, left side of the waist, left hip, thigh, knee, shin and calf, ankle, and the left foot with the sole, top of the foot, and the 5 toes. Notice both feet together. Notice the entirety of both legs. Notice both arms and hands and the entire torso. Bring your attention to your neck and throat, and your chin, jaw, lips. Notice the cheeks, eyes, brows and forehead, ears, and crown of the head. Notice the entire back or underside of the body. And notice the entire body. Breathe in and out fully into your entire body. Allowing every part of the body to expand with the inhalation and then to retract with the exhalation. Bring your attention to a place within, and you can visualize this as some area that you know or an area that you create. But noticing a place that hasn't been influenced by any of the actions of the world. In this place, you can feel completely at home and totally at ease. There's something about this place in which you feel both known, appreciated, and loved. Allow yourself to fully inhabit this inner space. I sometimes refer to it as an inner sanctuary. And as you rest in this inner sanctuary, I'm going to share some words of John O'Donohue's. And I invite you to take them in and notice if there's something you want to meditate on for a few moments, or if not, just let it go. Again, you are in the decision-making driver's seat in that regard. May you awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. May you have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. May you receive great encouragement when new frontiers beckon. May you respond to the call of your gift and find the courage to follow its path. And out of all that, allow a vision to arise that is big enough for your wild soul. That is tender enough for your shy, awkward vulnerability. That has enough healing in it to put the ointment of the divine forgiveness over your wounds. That has enough truth and vigor in it to challenge you out of your own complacency. That has enough graciousness and vision to show you and to mirror your own beauty. And through all this, notice the new areas to birth within you. And now allow yourself to just reflect for one moment more on this inner sanctuary experience. And then call to mind your intention, your sankalpa, and repeat it to yourself 3 times in this posture of receptivity. And then let it go. But before you do totally let it go, just feel in your body this shift in your life. Feel it in every cell. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Allow your very self to expand with this shift in your life. And now, as we leave the inner sanctuary, notice the sounds that are in the room. Maybe coming into the room from outside. If you're in a room, maybe you are outside. And then notice your breathing without changing it in any way and without judging it, just simply being curious about what the breath is telling you about your state of being. And then sensing if you're inside the walls and the floor around you. If you're outside, just sensing the space that you're in. And taking your time, but when you're ready, fully returning by lifting your gaze or opening the eyes, initially looking at something that's in the distance and something that's alive if there's something possible, maybe even a plant that's in your space, but might be something out the window as well. And then coming back together. And we'll move on to the next slide. And we'll just leave that up while people take a minute, really literally a minute and a half, to just jot down on that piece of paper what your impressions were of that meditation and of whatever arose for you in the meditation. Welcome back. It's always nice when something like that works.
That was really great.
Has anybody not done that before, gone into a chat? Okay, so what I would like to ask now, I actually wasn't sure when I started to use the chat room, I mean the breakout rooms, if I would like them, and I actually do, because I think it gives people a chance to share more intimately with somebody else, and we wouldn't necessarily have a chance to do that all together. So I wonder if there's anybody who would like to just share a word or two about what their partner got out of or experienced in their session. And just unmute yourself or raise your hand and unmute yourself.
So you want us to tell you what our partner said?
A word or two about a highlight. You don't have to tell us who the partner was, but a word or two about what was a strong impression for them.
For my partner, meditation is new for her, and she is working on developing that practice as well as journaling. And so I think that this class is a good step for her in that direction of learning that meditation and learning how to do it for herself.
That's awesome. And what I also love, especially when people are early on, is that you can experience that meditation is many different things. There are many different paths into meditation. This is one of them. And not everybody likes Yoga Nidra. Some people might have a little bit of an aversion to it. That's good information to have. But I hope no matter what you experience with it, you'll pursue to find out, what resonates with you when it comes to meditation. It's such a worthwhile pursuit. And I want to go back to something that Michelle said earlier, which is, like, I always wanted to meditate. I know it would be good for me, but I never have done it. And I just want to offer that, taking one step in the direction is a wonderful thing to do. And that step might lead to another step, but you don't want to do it as I should. I would much rather people get into it because they become aware of the benefit that it brings to their life. Do we have one more person who wants to share? Either now, I'm going to open it up. It can be either something that you said or something that your partner said, and you don't even have to say which it is. One more person.
Okay, I'll go. It was myself. And I felt peaceful, restful, and clear-headed.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you had, it sounds like a very positive experience. And was this your first time doing a Yoga Nidra, Marianne?
Well, I do yoga. To me, yoga is physical. I've done yoga, and that's physical.
Yeah.
I've done meditation.
Yeah.
So actually, my question would be, what is the difference between regular meditation and in the Yoga Nidra meditation.
So the Yoga Nidra meditation, the difference is that it really pays attention to all those levels of our being and is
Okay.
fully guided. Many other, any kind of meditation, you make a choice of what you'll focus your attention on. In this case, you are led, and the focus is through the levels of our physical, mental, emotional, prana, and bliss bodies.
Nice, thank you.
I have a question for you, Ellen. What was the writer of that poem and the name of that poem?
Yeah. So, well, it was a combination of a few poems and a few things that he's written. It's John O'Donohue. It's O apostrophe capital DONNELL. And he is you'll find him and you will never want to let him go. He has such good work.
Can you spell that, the last name, one more time?
O apostrophe DONNELL.
Thank you.
I know we're over the time, I think, right now, by 2 minutes, but I want to just say two more things. One is that I want to invite anybody who would like to do a half-an-hour session with me. It's a consultation session. And I put into the chat the my web page, and you can actually sign up right on there, and it'll be a 30-minute session. I lead a year-long journey called the Inspired Living Journey, and I guide people. We meet on Zoom once a week for a full year, and we really dive deeply into what is your calling, what is your calling at this point in your life, and how to give you the support and encouragement you need to continue. So in part, this time that we spend, this half hour we spend together, is to get to know what are some, you can bring in if there are some physical challenges or challenges in really getting to your core purpose here on earth. And you have no obligation to then go on and do the year-long. However, if you decide to, and you do all this within the next 10 days, then you also get a discount on the year-long. So if you go into the chat, did I send it? There, it's sent. It's inspired-living.net. And Michelle, if you can also just put up that last slide, it also gives that information as well as a couple of other ways to contact me.
You should see that up. I think I have that up.
Oh, you do have it up. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm on a different screen.
Yeah.
So I want to just say thank you. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for being like my people, being in this world, doing work already that is helping the phoenix to rise through the ashes that we've created on this earth.
You have a lot of messages, Ellen, in the chat, so make sure you look at those. This is wonderful. You're very gifted, I have to say. It's really cool to watch. Yeah.
This is where my heart is, which makes it joyful to do. So, and I just want to again say, I encourage you, if you feel so inclined, I'll try to come to your webinar. And it's just such a great venue, and the support is there for you. So thank you.
Feel free to join the Facebook group. So Ellen is in there, and you're commenting a lot, and I really appreciate that. So anybody would like to join the Facebook group, I put a link to it in the chat, so you can join us over there. And it's just we collaborate a lot. People ask questions, like where do you get your labels printed? To Ellen shared a meditation actually in that group, which was really neat. So yeah, so feel free to join us over there, and I'm going to put the recording of today's webinar in an email to everybody that registered, and also I'll put it in the Facebook group, so you'll have it there. And I'll put Ellen's offer to AB members in there as well. So
Beautiful. And you're just reminding me too, I have a podcast, and initially my podcast had a focus of, people who I find inspiring in life. And then I shifted it. I did one of these pivots to rebrand it, because really the work I feel called to bring into the world is meditation. So if you go on to YouTube and you put in Inspired Living with Ellen, you will find not only the meditation that I posted, but I started the meditation part in January. And so anything that's before January of 2023 is an interview, and those are also really interesting. Anything after is a meditation.
great. So I'll put that link in the email too. So we'll have the YouTube link to your podcast. So
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Have a great day.
Great. Thank you, everybody. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.